the Buddha to be, when he was the God, we call them Deva, means God. Deva means God. And Seta Ketu is his name. So it's the name of the God. What's the name? Seta Ketu. Like somebody here is called Nathan or Baolam and so on. He was called Seta Ketu. But he was a god. So we say he was a Deva. Like you're a human, he was a god. So now, what happened? So he was practicing perfections. He was practicing very important qualities such as generosity, ethics, loving kindness. And after this was done after he got a prophecy. That means after somebody told the Buddha to be the future. In long, long ago, many, many lives before the last life. So many, many lives before the Buddha Gautama's last life, the Buddha Gautama, Buddha to be, received a prediction from a previous Buddha called Buddha Dipankara. And there was this prediction. This man will certainly become a Buddha. So this prediction that he will become a Buddha was given by 24 Buddhas. So Buddha after Buddha gave the prediction about or directly to the Buddha to be Gautama, our Buddha. And so after he got the prediction from the 24 Buddhas, starting from the Buddha Dipankara all the way until Buddha Kassapa, these were 24 Buddhas, but we know about 27 Buddhas. But anyway, so in the last 4 Asankheyas and 100,000 Ians, then he was born in the heaven Tusita as the god called Setaketu. All right. So for 4 Asankheyas and 100,000 Ians, like you have a year, you have also decade, which is 10 years. You have also a century, which means 100 years. You have millennium, which means 1,000 years. And you have also millions and millions of years. Now, Ian here, that's a very, very long period. Those could be trillions, quadrillions of years. Okay, you could say zillions of years. Now, Asankhya is even longer than that. These are extremely long periods of times. So for 100,000 Ians and 4 Asankhyas, the Buddha to be trained in the 10 perfections, in the 10 qualities.
May I go out?
Excuse me? Such as that he was training himself in generosity, in ethics, in loving kindness, and so on. So then, throughout that period of these 4 Asankheyas and 100,000 Ians, the Bodhisattva was working hard to fulfill these 10 these 10 trainings, these 10 perfections. He was also dedicating himself to special sacrifices. That means he was donating. This is sacrifice is a weird word. Here we mean generosity. So he was giving food, clothes, place to stay. He was providing health and help to others around him. So that's what's meant here. And virtues through practices. So he was dedicating himself to virtues, such as eating only one meal a day, or not killing, not stealing, not committing adultery or sexual misconduct, not telling lies, not drinking alcohol, and so on. And he also dedicated himself to special development, bhavana, such as meditation. And he perfected all of these practices and characteristics. So in his last existence, when he was a human, he was born as Vesantara. It was before he was born as God. So his last life, he was born as human. Before that, he was a God. And before that, he was a human. So when he was a human, before he was a God, he was called Vesantara, and he was born as the king's son, as a prince. And so he entirely perfected all of the 10 perfections. So he became a man who was entirely the best, incomparable, the most knowledgeable, the wisest, the most experienced, the most ethical, the most helpful person in the whole world. So then, there is explained that after he died from that human life, which was before his life as a god, and his life as a god was before his last life as a human. So he was a human in his last life. Before that, he was a god. And before being a god, he was a human. And at that time, he was called Vesantara. So after he died in that human life, there was an earthquake. There was an earthquake in the world. Now, maybe you have heard that earthquake is a bad thing. However, although earthquake is a bad thing in the world, I think Baolam, you have there some friend having fun with you?
No, that's my little sister.
That's your little sister. Yeah, and she has a lot of fun with you. So you can maybe close the door or maybe invite her to come and listen. But it's not so good if she's behind you and having so much fun.
You just have fun. I'm listening to you.
Okay. So the earth, when it quakes to praise somebody, nobody dies. Okay. When there is an earthquake, because people did something bad in the past, well, then people die. But when there is an earthquake because it praises somebody, well, then nobody is dying. But it can happen that pots will fall and they get broken. So then, after the Prince Vesantara died, he was then born as a god, and he was named as Setaketu. It was in the heaven called Tusita. We distinguish 6 heavens. Chatum Maharajika, Tavatingsa, Yama, Tusita, Nimma Narati, Parinimmita Vasavati. You don't need to know that. Just for you to see that indeed we have 6 heavens. And each of them have their name, they have their king, they have their beings, they have their special lifespan, they have their special kind of pleasures and happiness. So, and they have a lot of beautiful, beautiful trees and flowers, in addition to delicious meal, and everybody there having very beautiful, or if they're men, handsome bodies. So he was then, as a god, he had 10 qualities, better than all of the other gods in that heaven. And what was that? So he had a long life. All right. He was most handsome of all of them. He was the most happy. He had the most wealth and retinue. Retinue means people who follow him, his followers. He had authority and power. He had a powerful vision. So he was able to see whatever he wants to see very clearly, clearer than others. He had very good sense of hearing and smell and taste and touch. So he was very proficient. He was very skillful in understanding what's going on around him. So then, let's continue here. So we are talking about this last life when he was in heaven. Then after that, he had last life when he was as a human. So in the Buddha to be's last life as a god, because it was not his totally last life, it was his second last life, but it was his last life as a god, because he would then never became a god again. So this was his last god life. So this god Setaketu, the future Buddha, enjoyed the supreme bliss, the supreme divine bliss in the world of Tusita heaven for 4,000 years. And that would be about 576 million years in the human world. Then 1,000 years by human calculation before the end of his lifespan in Tusita, there happened something very special. So years by human calculations, so that's about one day in the heavens. So the Buddha to be lived in this heaven. He enjoyed pleasure and power and success and friendship and so on. And then about one day before he died as a god, because all gods will die one day. All gods will die one day. No exception. Even the God who thinks he created the world, he thinks that he will be living forever, but he's wrong. He will die one day. So all gods will die one day. And one day, one heaven day, before the Buddha to be died in the heaven, the Brahmas, that means the higher gods in the highest level of the material world, we may talk about this sometime later. So the highest gods who still have bodies, they exclaimed, "Friends, in 1,000 years from today, there will appear in the human abode an omniscient Buddha." So the gods, they know what's coming in the future, and they know that something very special, very big will happen in the future. And so they are telling it to others. So then, because of this uproar, because these great gods, these great Brahmas, explained that the Buddha will appear again. We call this uproar in Pali kola hala. You may see kola hula, but it's actually wrong printing. So kola hala, an omniscient Buddha will be appearing. An omniscient Buddha will be appearing. So this uproar, this exclamation, this shouting was repeated again and again across the world of heaven and even in the human world. But still there were some people and some gods who did not hear it. For example, if they were deep in meditation or if they were busy with something. So we can see that not everybody heard it, but it was there. Then, what is omniscient? So I want to know if somebody here knows what is omniscient. If you know it, please raise your hand. So raise your hand only if you know what is omniscient. Nobody here knows what is omniscient? Inmin, do you know what is omniscient? No? No idea? Edward, do you know what is omniscient?
No.
No. And May, do you know what is omniscient? May, do you know what is omniscient?
Yes.
What is it?
Is
Bennett. Bennett, what is omniscient? What does it mean?
I don't know.
You don't know. So why did you raise your hand? Bennett, why did you raise your hand? Okay. Ariel, do you know what is omniscient?
Is it to know or be aware of everything?
It is to know everything.
You
That's
said
correct.
so.
Thank you very much. So omniscient means to know everything. Omni means everything. Shint, scient, means to know. So for example, you have heard of science, and science means knowledge. That's all what it means. Science means knowledge. And somebody who is omniscient, written as omniscient, but we don't say omniscient. No. We say omniscient. And omniscient means that they know everything, knowledge of everything. So omniscient Buddha means the Buddha who knows everything. And what is this everything? What is to know everything? And in Buddhism, we specify what is to know everything. 3 things. Number 1, to know your past lives. Number 2, to know the past lives of other beings and their present lives. And why are these beings born in this life and not somewhere else? The second one. And the third one is to know the suffering of the world and the way out of the suffering. So 3 things are necessary in order to be omniscient. Remember all your past lives. Understand and see all past lives of all beings. And clearly see why are they born, where they are born. And finally, understand the suffering of the world and the way out of suffering. So these are 3 things you need to be omniscient. So an omniscient Buddha will be appearing means that the god Setaketu will die from the heaven. He will be born as a human among humans, and he will become a Buddha. He will become the one who has understood the way out of all suffering, and he will be omniscient. He will know his past lives. He will know past lives of all other beings and why are they where they are now, and also the suffering of the world and way out of that. So then, just a moment, we have a little error here. We learn here that he had actually one more name. So the Buddha to be in the heaven as a god, his proper name was Setaketu, but he was also known as Tusita, which means that he was the most powerful, the most enjoying god in the heaven of Tusita. Okay, and then we have the request, and that's all what we will be talking about today. So on hearing the uproar announcing the advent of a Buddha. That means after the other gods heard these Brahmas shouting that there will be a Buddha in the world, all of the kings of these heavens, which belonged to the 10,000 world systems, so we have 31 levels, but we have uncountable world systems, and each of the world system has 31 levels. So 10,000 world systems means 10,000 worlds. Each of the world consists of 31 levels. Levels such as human world and hell and animal realm and ghosts and gods and Brahmas. So then we get here some the names of these god kings, the kings of gods. So who are the kings of gods? The kings of the heaven of 4 kings, of 4 divine kings. So there were actually 4. Sakka, the king of the king of gods in the heaven of 33. Suyama, Santusita, Sunimita, Vasavati, and all Mahabrahmas. So all of the kings of gods and kings of Brahmas, they collected in one particular place to discuss about what's coming now with this Buddha to be. What will happen? Because he still has divine lifespan, 7 days, whose divine lifespan remained only 7 days by human reckoning. Okay, so by that time it was only 7 days in the human world. And the end of the Setaketu god's life was coming closer and closer. And it was very clear through the 5 predicting signs. So 5 things were happening to the Buddha to be, the god Setaketu, which helped everyone understand that he is going to die. All right. So what are those? So what are those 5 signs of a god that's just coming to die? You will have to see some more details. I will tell you some of them. So when a god is going to die, it is possible to find out because the god will have sweat in his armpits. Now, of course, in the human life, in the human world, we have sweat in our armpits whenever it's a little hot. But in the world of gods, you do not have sweat. No sweat in the world of gods, except when you are going to die. At that time, you will get sweat in your armpits. Also, how will you recognize that a god is going to die? That the flowers that they are wearing on their head are withering, decaying. Now, in the human world, if ladies put flowers into their hair, after half of a day, after a few hours, they wither and decay. But in the heaven, it's not like that. In the heaven, the goddesses, they put flowers into their head, and they're beautiful and lush and green and white and blue and so on for thousands and thousands of years. Except when they're going to die. If the god is going to die, the flowers on the head become black and, withering. And another characteristic, there are 5, I will tell you 3. Another one is that the god is no more happy in his throne. Throne is the chair or the seat of a king. And usually when you sit on a chair, after a few hours, you are no more happy there. You want to dance and sing and do something else. But gods do not have it like that. Their bodies are subtle and soft and, very comfortable. So a god can sit down and he can sit there for thousands of years and just enjoy the pleasure of sitting. Of course, gods dance and sing and play and do all kinds of things. But not because they would be uncomfortable sitting. They're always comfortable, always happy, except when they're going to die. So when a god is going to die, short time before his death, he starts to feel uncomfortable in his throne. Okay, so let's continue. So these gods from the 10,000 worlds, these kings of gods, they approached the god called Setaketu, our Buddha to be, with their hands joined in adoration. Adoration means love and respect. And they requested the Buddha to be in these words. O Buddha to be the God, you had completely fulfilled the 10 perfections, not because you would like to become a king of gods in the heaven of 33, or to become the god of death, or to become the creator of the world, or to become a universal king, the king of the universe. Instead, you have fulfilled these perfections because you wanted to become an omniscient Buddha, because you wanted to understand suffering and way out of suffering together with omniscience, with knowledge of everything. And so that you would achieve freedom from the 3 worlds. That is the world of suffering, the world of, you would say, the world of suffering, the world of matter, and the world without matter. So they're the 31 worlds, simplified into 3, as well as to liberate the multitudes of humans, gods, and Brahmas. O Buddha to be, this is the most auspicious. Propitious means like very suitable, very beneficial, very powerful time for you to become an omniscient Buddha. This is truly the right moment to become an omniscient Buddha. Therefore, may you take conception in the womb. That means may you, conception in the womb means before your mom gives birth to you, you have to stay in her belly. So may you take conception in the womb means may you appear in the belly of your mother in the human world. So they tell the god, please die now, to summarize. But they explain that if the god dies now, he can be born as a human in the belly of a human mother and soon after that become an omniscient Buddha. And after attaining supreme enlightenment, may you liberate humans, gods, and Brahmas from the cycle of rebirth by teaching the teachings on deathlessness, on immortality, Nibbana. So that's all what I